Huge change to Californians who have 401k plans or an employer-sponsored retirement plan. And it's not good. It's not good. So check this out. We're going to skip to the front here. California residents who had tax-qualified plans will go to bed on New Year's Eve knowing that their tax-qualified plans are fully protected from creditors. But when they wake up on New Year's Day, those plans will be barely protected at all. What this means for asset protection planning in California is that tax-qualified retirement accounts of any type are now highly susceptible to creditor attack. What is still protected in California is a retirement account that is not tax-qualified. Not tax-qualified. Asset protection planners must take that into account and quit presuming that tax-qualified plans are protected for California residents. So let's start with the very beginning of this. This is a guy named Jay Atkinson. Don't know Jay, but I came across my LinkedIn feed. Very interesting here. And he's licensed to practice law in a bunch of different states. California drastically reduces creditor exemption for qualified accounts. And this is just written just the other day. What do we got here? On September 24th, the California governor, old Governor Gruesome, signed into law AB 2837, which made certain changes to the California Enforcement of Judicial's Law, Judgments Law, known as EJL. Most of these changes relate to consumer medical debt, which I typically don't deal with, but there's a major change which relates to tax-qualified retirement plans that are of significant interest. These changes will go into effect on January 1st, 2025. Most tax-qualified retirement plans prior to this law were completely exempt from creditor judgment enforcement. Additionally, these distributions from these tax-qualified retirement plans were similarly exempt from creditor judgment enforcement. What this meant, if a debtor had funds in a tax-qualified retirement plan, then creditors could not get at those funds and the creditor would not get the money once they were distributed either. What were partially exempted from this restriction were IRAs. All right, so he talks about IRAs. We're not going to get in that here. We're going to keep going down here, right here. What AB 2837 did was to apply the means test to all tax-qualified plans. Thus, tax-qualified retirement plans that were fully protected before are fully protected no more. Instead, the California courts will now look at the plans as well to determine how much money the debtor will need in retirement and essentially say, well, you got $1 million in your 401k, you need $250,000. You're going to get a $250,000 distribution. Guess what? Some of those distributions will be subject to non-creditor protection. That's what they're saying in means test. You only need $100,000 of that $250,000 distribution. That's kind of crazy. These but hold on, these tax qualified accounts are subject to ERISA because their Employee Retirement Income Security Act in 1974 governs 401k plans and whatnot. And the ERISA anti-alienation provision operates to keep creditors from enforcing judgments against monies that are held in ERISA plans. And being federal law, ERISA controls over contrary state law, including this enforcement judgment, whatever the hell is law in California. So money is still safe in ERISA while it stays in the plan, but it's not safe when there's a distribution from an ERISA plan. The ERISA may protect money that is in the plan. It does not cover those monies after they are distributed. Thus, those monies become fair game for creditors under state law. And this is the biggest change with the new rules. Previously, distributions from 401k plans are exempt from creditor judgments under a previous law. Now it's not the case anymore. In other words, almost minimal protection for the funds are held inside a ERISA plan anymore because you're going to have to take distributions. What this means is that a debtor who has a dischargeable debt and a lot of money built up in tax-qualified plans will have to consider bankruptcy as an option. Bankruptcy may offer greater protections for tax-qualified retirement plans than is available under current law, but bankruptcy right here is the most dangerous place for a debtor with assets to be, and one should really think through this before he goes to bankruptcy. So that's well beyond me. Let's see if there's any. I guess I don't have comments on full. I don't have comments on full. Let's look at that dog over there. Let's look at his Twitter feed and see what we find. If he's got any comments on this. Yeah, here's this guy, legend. I'm gonna follow this guy. He's only got 561. What a legend. The private registered bonds for investment scam. Alaska Supreme Court confronted with charging order priority issues and doofus. Single member liability companies and creditor debt. Oh my goodness. It hurts my head. IRS drops appeal regard. Okay, that's all 2022. All right, so he's not posting much on X. He's on LinkedIn. We're both in the Trust and Estates Network on LinkedIn. He's got 4,400 followers here. I think I'm following him on LinkedIn. They should be able to follow. Anyway, University of Oklahoma Law School. All right, gotcha. California, that's what we just talked about right there. Accounting partner, a major CPA firm, decides not to file or pay taxes for years, but then needs tax returns for mortgage application. So he forges them. What could go wrong? Yeah. DC accountant. Man, that dog is just driving me crazy. Yappy. Anyway, so there you have it, man. Maybe it's time to diddy him out from California. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, they can't get your ERISA plans for the courts. They can't get your the federal court says they can't get the money you have in ERISA plans. They can't get the money you have in IRA. They can certainly get inherited IRAs. That's a fact. They being the creditors. How do you escape this, man? I don't know. But if you're taking distributions from a plan in California, now it's subject to creditors. That's just a fact from an ERISA plan. I didn't know this. Previously, your IRA distributions were subject for creditors too. In fact, the state of Georgia, and I don't live in California. I'll never live in California, even though it's a beautiful state. And the sun, the surf, and the tan girls. Oh, my goodness. But I'll just never live there. But Georgia Roths aren't protected. Did you know that? Crazy. Roth IRAs are not creditor protected. I might have to do a video on other states that don't have creditor protection. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. Go California. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. No worries. All right. We'll see you guys.